make sure that it's at least as many passes as possible to get around there.
Yeah. So as a sweeper, you are quite comfortable having players behind you.
Yeah, yep.
You're quite comfy. Like the old days of sweeper was
also
usually the last man. Everyone
yeah.
was in front.
Yeah.
But now you are quite comfy having guys behind you, as long as you're marked up a bit.
Yeah, and that's always the most difficult thing. Is somewhere along the line over the last 18 months, we've learned to stop worrying about everyone else and do your own job. So finally, if I was a sweeper, I used to always play a little bit deeper. Not because I didn't trust them, but because I just feel that if anything happened, it was safer.
You didn't half a chance.
Yeah.
Okay,
whereas Rick says that we're good enough one-on-one at the back now, and if we're not, we better keep tackling. That's why we practice every time.
The Europeans are much deeper, the sweeper is much deeper to the back three, and the centre half is up a little bit higher, so it leaves a big gap in the midfield there, so it's perfect for the midfielders.
Especially fairly mobile if you're not getting pressure.
Yeah.
With the running rotate.
But you don't have to. This is, as we said, that's a full-out, full press. It's quite difficult for young kids, especially if you're coaching kids, to get stretched over the whole field. But you know, any pressure from, I reckon the game's changed. I reckon in 2004 we won Olympic gold medal, and no one will ever take that away from us. But we played half court, non-stop. That's all we did, nothing else. We just, every time the ball went out, we just jogged back. We didn't even have to we didn't even have to face the ball, because they would take so long to walk the ball up, and they were only ever going to push it sideways, so we would just jog back to halfway. We'd let them hit the ball all the way up to about here, I reckon. And the right half could have the ball here before anyone even put any pressure on him.
And why that was, I think, is because if we attacked, our strikers then are up here, wherever, we lose the ball, midfield. They got their strikers like this, but our defenders are still back here.
Yep. So they're getting free pass.
So they're just getting a free pass. So that's why once they lost it, we'd all run back, and then defenders would just stay there. But now defenders
they're never allowed to be
between
the lines. That's what Rick calls it. No one should ever be free between the lines. So if someone's standing there, why am I standing back here? Am I just saving my breath or waving to someone or whatever? If he's standing there, I should be up on him.
The other thing, then on that, so you make the intercept, you seem to like transition into attack
quickly.
It's quick and pretty good, and starting inside and going out.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that we've worked a lot on leading. We work a lot of the players on both sides, but it's a knowledge of basically whatever side you're on, because we're leading laterally quite a lot. You're never just an inside left or an inside right for us anymore. So we're working with every player in different positions all the time. So we know a general structure of if we get the ball here, someone's got to go high. For example, we always get someone to the point on the circle here, we call it the T-spot, which stretches the field right apart. And what it's doing is it's putting defenders under pressure. You know,
it's stretching them too.
Yeah, so instead of I'm inside right and Jamie's right wing, if I beat my man, Jamie's man tackles me. So we want to get players right away to give players with such good skills.
So do you find though that the opposition are playing in front like you are, or they're coming in behind you, or?
No, they just keep coming back.
Yeah, not many.
Depends, you know. Each team's different. You know, Germany man on man, very strict
all the time.
They mark you even when they've got the ball. So you
even with
always
that
get
concept there, like I coached an under 6 to 15 side last year against these guys over here. I know Matthew pretty well, Matthew Batterini. And he said, you guys don't play positions. If there's 4 guys up there, that goes. You get left behind, then you to pick up that 3 man, as you say. So I just played a little system with these guys. You know, you guys say, well, am I playing centre forward today? No, you're just playing a high forward, you're playing the forward, you're playing the midfield, and that's it. So in the end, if that guy gets past, you just get back and let the other guy tackle him. And that's what he does. There's no set position.
I don't have a position before the World Cup. We changed our system a little bit after them, but I don't have a position. I'm in the midfield, okay, but I could be left
and that's
inside,
right, the game's that quick before you get from here to there. That's right, and you
can left wing, right wing, or centre forward, all in, you know, in a matter of 2 minutes. And that's tough for the opposition. They don't know really how you're playing because you don't really have a position. So
I think
also 5 of us are up there, rotating like that. It's
and the speed of the game, that quick, you know, the ball can go from here to there in 2 seconds flat. There's no way you can reverse that spot that quick.
How do you handle that in defence when he's left centre and right
Yeah,
all at
that's
the same
the
time.
point I was just about to make, and that's why Rick really introduced this, because he wanted our best players never to be able to be spot marked. So no such thing anymore as a right inside on left inside, especially with Jamie. That's what everyone started to do leading up to Beijing. They knew that if you put just a good tagger, like the AFL, you put a good tagger on a good player, they're still going to probably win, but they're going to be far less influential than if you just give them free rein. So what Rick wanted to do was he didn't want anyone to be able to mark Jamie, Eddie, you know, some of our really, not that they're great so much better, but they are very influential in our team. So if they don't have a position, then the team, you know, if I'm going on as a right inside spot marker and Jamie's then at left wing, who am I marking? Like, it's no, yeah, so I think they got a little bit confused as well.
That's a good thing with the Matrix as well, because I'm on for 9 minutes, I'm playing left wing, centre forward, right wing, inside left, inside right, and then I'm off. And then they're like, what the hell's going on here? And then I'm back on left wing, then I'm right. If you wash it, it's just like a washing machine.
That's what everyone said, yeah. They just said to us, what are you doing? You guys just run anywhere you like, don't you? Is there no rules? We said, oh, it's a little bit more set out than that, but it kind of is exactly what
So
we're
you
told.
with your matrix, so you substituting, well, say, I'm going to, me strikers or me forwards, say, they're knackered, they've been on a run and we're going to rotate them, or is like the backs or midfield rotated in that, like one of each section?
Yeah.
Out of each section. So you got 3 lines, midfield strikers.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing striker with 3, there's 3 strikers on and 2 usually on the bench.
We'll just make it one.
Okay, make it 1. So 4 strikers, 3 are on. I come on, if I'm off, I bring someone on after 4 minutes. They're off for 4 minutes, and they bring the next one on off after 4
He's
minutes.
played 8 minutes.
He's played 8 minutes, off for 4, and the most is at 12 minutes, and he comes off, and then back on.
Yeah.
And I come
And that's
off,
everywhere.
just rotate.
Exactly the
Through
same.
the back, through the mid.
Except goalie, obviously.
Yeah.
So it just makes the game much quicker. So what we're doing is we're running it we're probably still running the same distance as we used to, but we're playing 15 minutes less, and we're running at 15 metres per minute quicker.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that we're now running 150 metres per minute rather than 140, 135, 140, which was the game around Beijing.
It's gone up about 15 metres per minute more per player, per line.
And that means training's changed. So now we still train for 2 hours, but we'll train for 15 minutes at absolutely blistering pace. Then we'll have a minute off where we jog 1 lap, and we'll train for 15 minutes again. Whereas we used to train for 45 minutes without a break, and by the 40th minute we'd have our hands on our things. You know, you'd say, okay, yep, 2 on 1. They'd be like,
So that training is with stick in hand.
yep, stick and ball. That is.
So how much of your time do you actually spend without your stick, just doing physical training?
Well, that's more individual.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
different phases in the year as well. So, for example, now we haven't, not with, none of the guys that live in Australia have done any stick and ball since the Com Games in October.
Right.
They've had a great break. And that they started just a long distance running program, so 3 long distance runs in November or end of November or start of December. So they'll do 3 long distance runs, then
What's the longest one?
like 35, 40 minutes at the
Change
most,
it up,
yeah. And then it'll go to 2 long distance runs, but one will be like a little bit of interval, so run hard for a minute, easier for 4 minutes, for 35 minutes, but then the next 2 will be like 800 metre, 600 metre, 400 metre, 200 metre, 3 sets of that, and then the third session will be 5 1Kers, so you're building that long, slow running, but then you're starting to build in a little bit more speed, and then as we get closer to, like we've got beep test and sprint testing next week in Perth, so for the last 2 weeks we wouldn't have been doing any long distance running at all, and we're doing all like hill sprints, like 50 metre hill sprint now, or our program at the moment is like 820s, 2 sets of 820s, 2 sets of 840s, 2 sets of 850s, 2 sets of 860s, 580s and 500s or something, so it's really explosive training.
But usually we have to peak roughly sometimes 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So 3 months before you'd go longer, and as soon as you get in, go shorter and shorter and shorter. By the end of it, you know, you're doing 10 metre or 5 metre shuttles side to side, that sort of stuff.
But that's all
and then
incorporated
after the
in training.
tournament, you have a couple of weeks off, then start with the longer distance again.
What about sprint training? Do you have a sprint coach or?
We have in the past, yeah, I'd like to see it more, but we haven't got one at the moment. We've got a guy who does the gym plus sprints, but and Ted, he's come back, yeah, so.
Yeah,
We do have a
kind of
guy
do that. A lot of guys, we've had testing, we train with the West Coast Eagles.
Yeah.
Over in Perth, we train with their sprint trainer for a fair while. He was really good, just working on technique work and only 15-metre sprints, but you learn to sprint really fast and the right starting and
His
distance.
philosophy was like, you need to sprint to get faster, you
Yeah.
need to actually run fast to get faster.
Yeah.
Same as, trapping, you need to actually trap a few balls to learn how to trap. So he was, alright, just flat out, just go, and then doing the technique and all that really helped, I thought. And I think, hopefully we do it this year and next year as well.
Is weight still a big part of it, or is that not so much?
It's
Changing
changed
a
a fair
little
bit.
bit, yeah. We still do weights, but there's a lot more movement work, a lot more hamstrings, glutes, lower back,
Core stability.
core stability.
It's not real heavy stuff. It's more hockey sense, because you don't need to be able to lift 100 kilos doing a bench press. We don't need to look like a rugby league guy or those sort of guys, because we need to be pretty thin up top, but we need to have real strong hips, lower back, hamstrings, quads, and that's what all the training's doing
Just
more now.
Just a lot of movement things in your groins, because guys have had osteoarthritis pubis a lot. That's been in hockey a lot in the last couple of years.
So it's more reps, less
hamstrings
weight.
and backs, and
Yoga's
we
started.
still do as much. It still takes an hour and a half or so, but it's far less. You walk out of there and you're done, but in half an hour you're okay. Whereas we used to walk out 6 years ago, it was the best thing ever, just to see who was the strongest guy in the team.
Big arms. Yeah,
Whoever had the
probably
biggest
what we're
arm.
looking for.
That's one thing that's changed a little bit more. So we've also never until last year had an actual hockey strength and conditioning coach. We used to have a guy in the gym who just said, just go out and do some squats and lunges, whereas now we've got a strength and conditioning coach for the hockey, for the men's and ladies team, so we actually have individual programs. Jamie, because he's done his hemi a couple of times in the last few years, he has so much more hamstring work than, for example, I do, because I've never had a hamstring problem, but I broke my ankle twice. So all I'm doing for half an hour while he's doing hamstrings is I'm doing wobble board and calf raises to try and it's not working.